In the chaotic landscape of the modern world, an ancient philosophy has been resurrected as our new savior, Stoicism. Its teachings are everywhere. They are in the blog posts of tech entrepreneurs, in the locker rooms of professional athletes, and on the bestseller lists of every bookstore. It has become the go-to operating system for anyone seeking to navigate the relentless pressures of our age. The promise of this modern Stoicism is a seductive one. It offers a simple, powerful toolkit for building a life of resilience and calm. It will teach you how to be unbothered by a rude comment, how to remain tranquil in a traffic jam, how to endure a difficult workday without complaint. It is the ultimate life hack, a way to build a mental fortress against the endless anxieties of modern life, making you a more focused, more productive, and more effective human being. And there is, of course, nothing wrong with this. These techniques are useful. The advice to focus only on what you can control is a timeless and powerful balm for the anxious soul. But we must ask a critical question. Is this all there is to it? Is one of the most demanding and profound philosophies in human history really just a set of techniques for optimizing your mood and managing your inbox? It feels as though we have discovered an ancient, powerful, and masterfully crafted sword, but have decided to use its handle as a convenient paperweight. We are using a tool of profound spiritual transformation for the most trivial of purposes. What if, in our relentless search for a quick fix, we have embraced the comfortable packaging of Stoicism, but have thrown away the dangerous and world-altering product that was once inside? What if I told you that this popular, safe version of Stoicism is a carefully edited, watered-down, and ultimately declawed imitation of the real thing? What if the true beating heart of this philosophy is not a comforting doctrine of passive acceptance, but a radical and dangerous program of spiritual rebellion? At the very center of the teachings of Marcus Aurelius, of Seneca, of Epictetus, lies a single, core idea. An idea so extreme, so demanding, and so profoundly countercultural that it has been quietly and conveniently edited out of the modern self-help narrative. It is an idea that is rarely spoken of in the popular podcasts and blog posts, because to take it seriously would be to undermine the very foundation of our modern way of life. It is an idea so dangerous that, if truly embraced, it would require you to completely dismantle your entire value system, to reevaluate your every ambition, and to change your relationship with everything you have been taught to desire. It is the secret that separates the true practitioner of Stoicism from the casual tourist of the philosophy. This video is about that one forbidden idea, the one Stoic truth that was and still is too dangerous for the masses. To understand this dangerous idea, we must ask the most fundamental question in all of philosophy, the question that every great thinker has tried to answer. What is the goal of a human life? What is the one ultimate purpose for which we are here? Today our answers are varied, but they tend to circle around a familiar constellation of ideas. Happiness, success, fulfillment, well-being, leaving a legacy. The Stoics, however, had a different and much harder answer. For them, the goal of life, the telos, is not happiness or any other external state. The sole and ultimate goal of a human life is virtue. And from this single uncompromising foundation, they built their entire system. The Stoics divided everything in the universe into three and only three possible categories. First, there are things that are truly good. For the Stoics, only one thing on earth fits this description: virtue. And virtue for them was a diamond with four faces. Wisdom, the ability to see the world as it truly is. Justice, the act of treating others with fairness and integrity. Courage, the capacity to face difficulty and pain with honor. And temperance, the mastery over one's own desires. Virtue and virtue alone is the sole good. The second category is things that are truly bad. And again, for the Stoics, there is only one thing that fits this description: vice, the direct opposites of the virtues: folly, injustice, cowardice, and indulgence. These are the only things that can truly harm a person, because they corrupt the one thing that truly matters: our character. And this leads us to the third category, the one that contains the dangerous, world-altering idea. This is the category of the indifference. And what falls into this category? Everything else. Absolutely everything. The list is as shocking today as it was 2,000 years ago. Things that are indifferent include health or sickness, wealth or poverty, pleasure or pain, beauty or ugliness, a good or a bad reputation. And most radical of all, the Stoics placed life itself and death itself into the category of the indifferents. Let that sink in. Our entire modern civilization, our economic system, our social hierarchies, our personal ambitions, are almost entirely built upon the manic and relentless pursuit of these Stoic indifferents. We organize our entire lives around the project of becoming healthier, getting richer, being more attractive, gaining a better reputation, and feeling more pleasure, all while desperately trying to avoid pain and postpone death for as long as possible. The true Stoic doctrine is a bomb thrown directly into the foundations of this entire project. It states with a cold and unflinching logic that none of these things have any intrinsic moral value. They do not, in and of themselves, make your life one bit better or one bit worse. A person can have a perfect body, $1 billion in the bank, and the adoration of millions. But if they lack virtue, if they are a coward or unjust or foolish, they are living a bad, failed, and worthless life. Conversely, a person can be sick, poor, unknown, and in great pain. But if they face their circumstances with courage, with wisdom, and with justice, they are living the best and most successful human life possible. This idea is dangerous because it is a declaration of independence from the entire value system of the world. It is the ultimate spiritual rebellion, and it is the true source of the Stoics' legendary tranquility. For if the only thing that is truly good is your own virtue, a thing that is entirely within your control, and everything else is indifferent, then what really is there to be afraid of? Before I ever read a word of Stoic philosophy, I was a true believer in the unofficial religion of the modern world. The gods of this religion are the very things the Stoics called indifferent. I was a devout and faithful worshiper at the altar of reputation, of wealth, of health, and of pleasure. My sense of self-worth was not a stable internal flame that I cultivated myself. It was a flickering, unreliable reflection that I saw only in the mirror of the external world. My identity was a house built on the most unstable ground imaginable, the opinions of other people and the ever-shifting circumstances of my own life. My greatest and most secret fear was not of being a bad person, but of being seen as a failed one. I was an addict, and my drug of choice was the approval of others. I was obsessed with my reputation. After a social gathering, I would lie awake at night, replaying conversations in my mind, analyzing every word, every gesture, searching for any sign that I had come across as anything less than intelligent, witty, and successful. I curated my online presence with the meticulous care of a museum curator, creating a public exhibit of a life that was far more interesting and accomplished than the one I was actually living. The opinions of others were not just data points. They were the very source of my sense of self. A word of praise could make me feel like a king. A hint of criticism could send me into a spiral of anxiety. And I chased the other indifference with the same desperate energy. I pursued money and prestigious job titles, not just for the comfort and security they provided, but for what they said about me. My self-worth was directly proportional to the number in my bank account and the title on my business card. Each raise, each promotion was a temporary validation, a fleeting hit of a drug that staved off the underlying fear that I was not enough. But the relief never lasted. This is the logic of all addiction. The moment one goal was achieved, the satisfaction would fade in a matter of days, sometimes hours, and a new, higher, more difficult goal would appear on the horizon. This is the famous hedonic treadmill, and I was running on it as if my life depended on it, all the while wondering why, despite all my forward motion, I never seemed to arrive anywhere. I was exhausted, anxious, and constantly comparing my own progress to the seemingly effortless success of those around me. I remember the first time I encountered the true, dangerous idea of Stoicism, the idea that all of these things I was chasing were in fact indifferent. My first reaction was not inspiration. It was a profound and visceral sense of offense. It felt like a personal attack. This is absurd, I thought. This is a philosophy for losers, an excuse for failure. Of course, health is better than sickness. Of course, wealth is better than poverty. To believe otherwise seemed like a form of madness, a sour grape's justification for a life of mediocrity. But this hostile reaction was a defense mechanism. The idea was so terrifying because it threatened my entire life's project. If my reputation, my career, and my wealth are truly indifferent, then I had been wasting my entire life, running with all my might in the wrong direction. The thought was too devastating to contemplate, and yet I couldn't shake it. The idea had planted itself in my mind, and I began to see its truth everywhere. I began to see that the very things I was chasing were the source of all my anxiety. My addiction to the indifference was the very reason I was never at peace. And in that slow, dawning realization, the most terrifying idea I had ever encountered also became the most liberating. The idea that I could fail, that I could lose my job, lose my reputation, even lose my health, and still have the chance to be a good, virtuous, and successful human being, was like being handed a key to a prison I didn't even know I was in. It was the beginning of a new and much more difficult kind of freedom. To intellectually grasp the idea that only virtue is good is one thing. To actually live it, in a world that screams the opposite message at you every single second of every day, is perhaps the most difficult spiritual work a human can undertake. This is not a simple mindset shift. It is a complete retraining of your every judgment, your every desire, and your every fear. It is not about changing your external life overnight, but about fundamentally re-architecting your inner world. This is the practical daily art of living the great Stoic division. The first and most foundational practice is a discipline of constant mental triage. You must become a vigilant and uncompromising gatekeeper of your own mind. For every event that occurs, every desire that arises, every fear that whispers in your ear, you must pause and deliberately place it into one of the three Stoic categories. When you feel a surge of anxiety about an upcoming work presentation, you must stop. You must take a breath, and you must say to yourself, with a clear and rational voice, the outcome of this presentation, whether I am praised or criticized by my colleagues, is an indifferent. The applause of others is not a true good. The only thing that is truly good here, the only thing that is within my complete control, is my ability to prepare diligently, to speak honestly, and to act with courage. That is where my focus must be. When you feel a pang of envy looking at someone's luxurious lifestyle online, you must perform the same triage. What I am envying is a collection of indifference, a nice car, a large house. These things have no intrinsic moral value. The only thing worth admiring is a virtuous character, and that is something I cannot see in a photograph. This constant practice of value clarification slowly and methodically creates a space between the world's stimulus and your emotional response. This leads to the second, more subtle practice, the art of detached engagement. A common misunderstanding of this philosophy is that it leads to a state of passive inaction. If health and wealth are indifferent, why should I bother trying to achieve them? But the Stoics were not passive. They made a distinction between indifference and preferred indifference. All things being equal, it is preferable to be healthy than sick, to be wealthy than poor. The crucial difference lies in the attitude with which you pursue them. You must learn to act like a Stoic archer. The archer does everything in her power to shoot the arrow perfectly. She controls her stance, her breathing, her grip, her aim. The excellence of her own action is entirely within her control, and she dedicates herself completely to it. But the moment the arrow leaves the bow, the outcome is no longer up to her. A sudden gust of wind, a slight movement of the target, the will of the gods. These things are external. The foolish archer is happy only if she hits the bullseye. Her emotional state is a slave to the outcome. The Stoic archer finds her satisfaction in the virtuous and excellent act of shooting well. She is engaged with the process but detached from the result. You must learn to live your life this way, pursuing your goals with diligence and excellence while being completely and totally indifferent to the fruits of your labor. Finally, You must learn to see misfortune not as a tragedy, but as your most sacred training ground. The great mass of people sees adversity, illness, financial loss, the betrayal of a friend, as a sign that life has gone wrong. The practicing Stoic sees adversity as a sign that life has finally begun in earnest. A life of uninterrupted ease is a life where your virtue is never tested. It is a life of pure theory. When misfortune strikes, you are finally given a divine opportunity to put your philosophy into practice. A sudden illness is not a curse. It is a chance to practice courage and patience. A professional failure is not the end of the world. It is a chance to practice resilience and to truly live the idea that your self-worth is not tied to your job title. You must learn to greet your hardships not with fear and resentment, but with a kind of quiet, sober gratitude. The cosmos has just provided you with a sparring partner, a chance to strengthen the only thing that truly matters, your own character. We began this journey with the image of the safe modern Stoic, the master of life hacks who uses philosophy as a shield to navigate the stresses of the world more effectively. We can now see this figure in a new and clearer light. For all their calm, for all their productivity, this safe Stoic is still a slave. They are a slave to the world's value system. They have not questioned the game. They have only learned to play it with less emotional friction. They are learning to be a more comfortable and efficient prisoner in a cage whose bars they have not yet dared to see. The true Stoic, the dangerous Stoic, the one who has had the courage to embrace the idea that only virtue is the sole good, is playing a different game entirely. They are not trying to win the world's game of accumulating indifference. They are staging a quiet and total rebellion against it. And in this rebellion, they find the ultimate freedom. If your sense of self-worth and your definition of a good life are tied only to your own character, a thing that is entirely and completely within your control, then what can the world truly do to you? It can take your wealth. It can destroy your reputation. It can take your health. It can even take your life. But it cannot touch the one and only thing you have defined as the sole good. This is what the ancient Stoics meant when they said that the wise sage is the only true king. He is the absolute master of his own inner kingdom, the one domain over which he has complete and total sovereignty. Externally, he may be a slave in chains, but internally he is freer than any emperor. This dangerous idea is the key that unlocks the cage. It is the path to becoming psychologically invincible. This is the dangerous beating heart of Stoicism, an idea that challenges us to the very core of our modern lives. If you are ready to explore more radical ideas for a stronger and freer mind, I invite you to subscribe to this channel. And now you must begin your own practice of value clarification. Share your thoughts in the comments. Tell us, what is one indifferent, like wealth, reputation, or comfort, that you feel you are most dangerously attached to? Your answer is the first step toward your own freedom.